Welcome to The Backstory. I'm Robert.
And I'm Melanie.
And we are joined by Bill Bracken, who is a professional chef who started a nonprofit organization with this amazing truck named Betsy. And I'd really like to ask you, how did you get Betsy and how did she get her name?
You know, we joke a lot about Betsy and the fact that she's the other woman in my life. So she's got a lot of character, and she's definitely a big part of what we do. But she was donated to us through an organization in L.A., a for-profit organization called Bruce's Catering. And Bruce is a man who runs a catering company. He's got about 10 trucks. They don't all look like Betsy, but Betsy was his very first truck. And when I met him, he had long since grown beyond Betsy, bigger trucks, fancier trucks. And Betsy kind of sat in the back lot, and she only came out once or twice a year. They call it in Hollywood, trials when I don't remember the name of it, you might know, but when they do all these trial episodes, or pilot season. Pilot season. So Betsy came out once a year during pilot season, then she sat in the back forever. And, when I met him and got to talk about what I do, he decided he wanted to give Betsy to us, but he didn't. He wanted to let go, but he didn't. And it's actually a neat story of a man I met who's from Kansas City that works for Bruce, who helped kind of seal the deal. But I didn't know Betsy was Betsy. She was just a red food truck when I got her. And, as we were there the day picking her up, he was kind of referring to her as Betsy. I'm like, what's this about? And I just realized, like most men, even some women, my wife's named every car she's ever had. I never have, but he named his truck Betsy, so it just kind of stuck, and we loved it and gave her personality. And our second, third, fourth truck, is it going to be Barbara, Betty, Bertha? I don't know. They're going to be Betsy 1, 2, and 3. But it really helped us to. She became part of our family. She's Betsy. She's part of the family, and she's having been in Hollywood for years, she's got a lot of stories that she could tell, but she's not sharing though.
Of course not. So. Betsy is a part of your nonprofit organization which feeds homeless people around Orange County. Could you talk about where in your life did you decide, hey, I'm going to have a nonprofit organization that feeds people in Orange County?
I didn't decide. God kind of decided for me. But, I've spent my whole entire adult life in luxury hospitality, 5-star, 5-diamond hotels. And, this is about as black and white as you can get from the world I came from to where I am. And I have moments often where at the end of a night I'm like, am I really doing this? Am I really here? Is this a dream? Am I going to wake up tomorrow? And not in a bad way, but it's just different. And, my story is really about, the great downturn in 2008, 9, and 10, working for one of the richest men in America and his organization, his company, and watching a lot of good people lose their jobs and watch them struggle just to put food on the table, pay their bills, stay in their house. And it really moved me that I knew then that I was being called to do something. And that was kind of where it all started. I tried to run the other way. I tried to deny it. I tried to just look the other way. But then in 2011, I lost my job. And I was escorted off property in typical fashion of this company, like I was a criminal or something. And, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And, this fear that I've had for years, my whole life, about money and being able to provide for my family. I remember getting my car in the parking lot, and I'm like, this is what it's like to get fired. This was a fear, to lose my job. And the building's not falling in, the sky's not falling, life goes on. I went home, and my wife and young son, my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and they weren't home, and I sat down, and I'm like, wow, the house isn't falling in.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, that's true. It's just really this surreal moment. And I didn't fall apart. I wasn't a wreck. I really thought I was. And I enjoyed, this was in December 2011. I enjoyed Christmas and Christmas off for the first time ever, since I was a kid. I actually got invited to and went to a New Year's Eve party. I've never been to one of those in my life. It was like I've been working those. And it was like, this is pretty neat. And, I was blessed. God really has taken care of me. And financially, I've been conservative in general, and I have benefited from a very good severance package, so I had time to figure out what I'm going to do. And I knew I was being called to feed. That was God was doing for me then what I couldn't do for myself, but I still kind of tried to deny it and do some other things, but nothing worked.
So I'm sure there's a lot of differences between working in a 5-star kitchen and working in a food truck. And Robert and I had the pleasure of stepping inside Betsy a moment ago, and it was very small inside there. So how is that? Tell us about the transition from working in these nice big kitchens to Betsy.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I have been in some really nice kitchens, there's no doubt about it, but I've also been in some really small kitchens. And we do live in Southern California, where real estate is very, very expensive. And when you build hotels and restaurants, as much square footage as you could dedicate to income generating space,
Right.
you're going to do that. So if I can put a table and chairs here that'll sell lunch
Yeah.
and dinner, I'm not going to give an extra storage
Right.
space to the kitchen or
Sure.
something. So, but I do say something to the volunteers every time they come on board. If you don't like being touched, if you have an issue with personal space, please don't even get on the truck.
Yes.
Because I'm going to touch you, I'm going to bump you, not on purpose. So I don't
Yes.
want you ever to think. But I got burns,
Oh my
everywhere
gosh,
because
yes.
it's just working in a tight space. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, one
Yeah.
thing I realized as I went down this road, I cook the same today as I've always done in 5-star, 5-diamond hotels. I don't cook
Yeah.
the same ingredients. I'm not cooking lobster and foie gras and caviar, but I'm cooking the same way, the same style.
Yeah.
And it's all fun. It's all
Yeah.
good. I get to
great.
do what I love, what God's given me this talent to do is cooking. But I get to do it for people that have never once in the last 2.5 years of feeding people have I got a complaint.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't go an hour a day in the luxury
Yeah.
hotel world without getting a complaint
Right.
every single day.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really a huge blessing because
That's
people
great.
truly enjoy it. I get hugs, I get kisses.
Yeah.
3
weeks ago, when we was last meal before Christmas at a place we go to every Tuesday night, I got a card. I mean, the families gave me a Christmas card. They actually went out and bought me a Starbucks card. And it's like, these people don't even know how they're going to pay their next month's
Right.
rent, and but that's how we touch people's lives, and it's like
Yeah.
I sat there and cried when I realized what it was that I got. So you don't need to buy a Starbucks card for me.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah. You mentioned volunteers, and I know that you have a wife and 3 kids. Are they part of that volunteer team? Are they involved with this whole project?
Yes and no. My
Okay.
wife is a board member, so she's been intimately involved since day one. My youngest son, Luke, who's 7, loves to come out on Betsy, loves to go to our Tuesday night feeding and after-school program for kids in Santa Ana. I don't know if he loves more the playgrounds and playing there as he
Sure.
does, but I mean, he just loves it. And
Yeah.
Betsy's got an old-fashioned nougat horn, so that's our dinner bell. You honk the horn, people come to dinner, and so the kids always kind of fight who gets to do that.
great.
But my oldest son is in San Diego State, finished up school, and he was involved while he was here. He did social media for us for a while. He's been out in the truck many times, been in the kitchen, and my daughter the same way. She's actually right now in Nepal on a mission trip for
Great.
6 months. So we're kind of missing her, but they've all been involved in one way or the other.
Yeah.
But as they grow up and my 2 older kids spread their own wings and fly, we don't get to see them around as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, I understand that you are well known for your mac and cheese. So there's aspiring chefs around the world that look up and want to pursue your path or their own path of chefdom. What would you tell an aspiring chef that the secret to amazing mac and cheese is?
Craft. It's funny you say that because, I mean, I grew up on mac and cheese in small town America, but when I certainly got to a certain level and you dream of being famous and successful and you get caught up in this rock star world. I'm old enough that the Food Network was just born as I just became executive chef, and I kind of grew into that, and I had my 15 minutes of fame, but no one wants to be known for mac and cheese. I mean, I remember the owners of the Peninsula Beverly Hills, the #1 hotel in America at the time, fighting me, telling me, you can't put mac and cheese on the menu. You just can't do it. And it really was a kind of an accident because I grew up in Kansas, like I said, and we ate Velveeta and Colby Longhorn cheese was the only 2 cheeses I knew. So I was experimenting and learning about cheeses of the world. And I ordered a couple cheeses that I'd heard of the hottest new cheeses, Tellem and Tellagio. And I got this Tellagio in. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Let's make some cheese sauce with it. And it kind of happened. I threw some truffles in it and came up with this thing that I never would have imagined. A lot of restaurants and chefs decide, this is me. This is so creative. This is going to be my signature dish. But if the guests don't buy it, how can it be a signature dish?
Right.
So we put it on the menu and it just went crazy. So, and I became known for mac and cheese.
That's really cool.
The secret is a good sauce, obviously, and not overcooking your pasta.
There you go.
Everybody overcooks their pasta, and you'll cook it ahead of time, and then you'll reheat it in the sauce or whatever, and you got this mushy, chewy, al dente.
Yes.
That's the clue. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
this
Chef
morning. We are so glad that you're here. Go to brackenskitchen.com. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
brackenskitchen.com for more information, and also watch Chef Bill on the Hour of Power.